Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I suspect that the honourable members on the front bench opposite are now surrounded. I suspect that they're the only people left in this chamber prepared to defend the cutting of the winter fuel payment. Right. Yes. Dozens of their own MPs have now joined a long list, including their own Welsh First Minister, talking of learning lessons from Wales, the money-saving expert Martin Lewis, and voters up and down this country, telling the government they got it wrong. The Conservatives have led this campaign from the start, but if they won't listen to us, will they now listen to everyone else and think again?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I mean, we've set out our policy, but here we are 10 months on, and I have no idea what theirs is. I'm not even sure that the members opposite know what their policy is. For all the shouting, there is no promise to reinstate a universal winter fuel payment. There is one policy, though. There is one policy from the Leader of the Opposition, the very woman who in 2022 called for the winter fuel payment to be means-tested. Now she wants to means-test the entire state pension. Apparently, that's exactly the sort of thing we will look at. She thinks that's bold policy-making. It's not. It's bonkers.
Also with no responsibility for the opposition. That's the good news for him, Helen Wakely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also not something that the Leader of the Opposition said, but to the point in hand, the winter fuel payment, I wonder how much longer this tone-deaf final stand will go on. And every time they talk about winter fuel payments, they actually make out that they had no choice. And that is simply not true. To govern is to choose. At best, this was only ever going to save $1 billion or so. But they're spending $8 billion on setting up an energy company, and the cost of asylum hotels is going to rise to $15 billion under Labour. This has always been a choice, and the wrong one. Can he guarantee that next winter every single one of the 750,000 poorest pensioners who missed out on the winter fuel payment this year will receive it?
Minister.
Well, I can guarantee that this government is going to deliver on its priorities for pensioners, raising the state pension with a £470 a year increase this April, saving the NHS with a £26 billion increase every single year. And what will the party opposite be doing? None of that, because they oppose every single measure required to fund it. And we know what the Tory plan is, because we've just lived through it. Pensioner poverty rising and the NHS collapsing.
The government did indeed launch a campaign to increase pension credit applications. Sadly, there was also a surge in the number of claims that were not allowed, with an increase of 133%, or over 100,000 claims that were not awarded. For many pensioners, including in my constituency, the winter fuel payment was a lifeline. Many need their heating on all year round, not just at winter. Yet just because of an arbitrary threshold, they now get nothing at all, and they're losing out. So will the government look again at this because of the impact and the risk of pushing more pensioners into poverty?
Minister.
Well, I can tell the honourable member about pensioner poverty. It halved under the last Labour government, and it went up on their watch, on the party opposite's watch. It went up by 200,000. Yes, we have had to make some difficult choices, but it's those difficult choices that mean we can afford a £31 billion a year increase in the state pension over this Parliament. It's those choices that mean we can afford £26 billion extra a year for the NHS, and none of those choices with the party opposite back, and that's why the NHS and the state pension will be under danger on their watch.
Catherine Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my 10 years as a member of this House, I've run consistent campaigns across Lancaster and Wyre to raise awareness of pension credit and encourage many hundreds of people to sign up to it. However, I also know that many of my constituents are just above that threshold, but I'm by no means well off. What assessment will the government make about those that are not eligible for pension credit but are still going to look at fuel poverty this winter?
Minister.
Well, I thank my honourable friend for her question. I want to thank the work that's been done by councils and by third sector organisations right across the United Kingdom to drive uptake of pension credit. It is that work that has led to the 50,000 extra awards compared to the same period last year that we have seen. What I would say to the honourable friend is that it is the choices we have made that mean that we can protect pensioners right across the board. The 4.1% increase in the state pension is possible exactly, that happened in April this year, is possible exactly because of the tough choices we've had to make.
Tom Morrison.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Stockport Council was one of the first local authorities to roll out a warm spaces programme that was used by third sector groups to support those in need during the winter months. Will the government commit to helping local authorities roll these kind of programmes out further in the face of these winter fuel cuts and rising energy prices?
Minister.
Well, again, I thank the member for his question and the work of local authorities, including mine in Swansea, to provide places for pensioners and actually for all age groups to come to if they're in need through the winter. What I would say is that the most important thing we can do is to directly tackle the cause of the issues he is raising, and those are to make sure that we bring down energy bills in the years ahead, moving away from the system the party opposite have left us with, which is dependent on the price of gas driven by the actions of dictators like Putin, and making sure that we continue to rise the state pension faster than inflation over the course of this Parliament. That is why the new state pension is set to increase by £1,900 by the end of this Parliament.
Mr Speaker, this morning the Work and Pension Select Committee were at the Welsh Assembly, where we heard from Wales's Older People's Commissioner as part of our Pensioner Poverty Review. I was impressed that you've got a role with real legal clout, and from what we heard is making a difference for older people in Wales. Is this something ministers agree we should be at least looking at to extend into England and Scotland?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I want to say to my honourable friend that we should always learn lessons from Wales. And in fact, that government is already doing that. When we look to the rollout of free breakfast clubs happening across England, at the moment pioneered in Wales. Children receiving free breakfast club because of the work done in Wales. And I want to praise the honourable member and the entire committee for the work they are doing as part of their inquiry into pensioner poverty. I will be coming to give evidence to them shortly, and I know that they've been listening not just in Wales but more widely with events in Glasgow and Manchester as well.
Secretary of State Alan West.